Today, I'm here to share a truly eerie and unique tale, unlike any interrogation you've ever encountered.
Jamie, your friend. He was the easiest out of anybody because he would have followed me because we're such good friends.
Why did you make the suggestion to Jamie to go inside the school today?
I was planning to murder him.
Do you know why you were going to do this?
No, I don't.
It all transpired within the confines of a restroom, where the unmistakable scent of warm blood began to permeate the air in a small, cramped latrine. Two individuals cautiously approached the restroom stall with a sense of foreboding, understanding that they had no choice but to peer inside. They steeled themselves for what they might find, then gingerly pushed the stall door open. The sight that met their eyes can only be described as a living nightmare. Before them lay a male student, later identified as 14-year-old Jamie Goff. He was drenched in blood and lay unresponsive, positioned face down with his chest and torso draped across the toilet seat. His head and legs dangled limply over the edges, and blood flowed down his face into a disturbingly large pool forming on the floor beneath his head. In that pool, a solitary pair of black glasses rested. One of the boys attempted to rouse the victim with 2 shouts, but there was no response. Their shock swiftly escalated into sheer panic, prompting the two to hastily exit the restroom, their abrupt departure even startling the security guard in the nearby hallway. The security guard, now deeply alarmed by the evident distress of the students, rushed into the boys' bathroom. The grotesque scene he witnessed compelled him to immediately call the Miami-Dade Police Department. After making the call, the guard left the restroom to fetch the assistant principal. Upon his return, he was met with the unsettling discovery that, during his brief absence, someone had entered and removed the victim's body from the toilet. The body now lay face up on the stall floor, one arm splayed out to the side, revealing a gruesomely shredded neck. School personnel could now plainly see the horrific extent of the injuries. In response to this horrifying turn of events, the school was promptly placed on lockdown. A few hours later, investigators arrived at the 8th grade classroom of Michael Hernandez, a student who had been identified by one of the 2 witnesses as the individual they'd seen exiting the bathroom that morning. The teacher of this classroom was the first to provide detectives with intriguing information. She stated that she had led her students into the classroom at 8:55 a.m. and, since that time, Michael had requested 3 separate bathroom breaks. The teacher also noted that Michael had blood on his shirt, which he attributed to a nosebleed. He had made 2 trips to the bathroom before 9 a.m. After the school was put on lockdown, Michael requested to use the bathroom once more. His teacher, concerned about the situation, summoned a security guard to accompany him to an unoccupied restroom and then back to the classroom. This was reportedly the final time Michael had left the classroom. Michael was subsequently taken to an office on the 1st floor of the school to be interviewed by detectives. When questioned about the blood on his shirt, Michael initially claimed that he had been accidentally struck in the face by a door while engaging in horseplay with the victim earlier that morning. However, the detective's examination revealed no visible wounds that could account for the blood. Michael then altered his story, asserting that he had returned to the 2nd floor bathroom, where he had previously parted ways with Jamie. Inside the restroom, he encountered another student he didn't recognize, who informed him that there was someone inside one of the stalls. Michael bent down to peer underneath, and in doing so, his shirt brushed the floor, resulting in the bloodstains. He claimed to have seen his friend Jamie inside the stall, after which he left the bathroom and headed to class. After Michael left the bathroom and went back to class, a consensual search of his book bag was conducted. What was discovered inside the bag revealed an even more shocking story than Michael had initially portrayed. There, they found a red jacket and 2 latex gloves, all stained with traces of blood. The detective then asked Michael to accompany him to the police station, to which Michael agreed. A little after 1:40 p.m., Michael was transported to the Miami-Dade Homicide Bureau office, where he began to share a completely different account. This version of events, as you're about to hear, was even more twisted and disturbing than anything the detectives had encountered thus far. Please note that Michael, being a 14-year-old minor, was questioned alone and without his parents present, as Florida law allows for the interrogation of minors without parental consent or their presence. However, parents can request a lawyer or stop the questioning on behalf of a minor at any time. These laws can vary by state. During the initial questioning, Michael is quite cooperative and well-mannered. He speaks clearly and answers the detective's questions with precision. He maintains an attentive posture, sitting up straight, hands folded in front of him, and his eyes focused on the detective. His body language conveys respect and a willingness to cooperate. However, it becomes clear that his motives are far more sinister. The detective inquires about Michael's school grade and special classes, and he proudly shares that he's in the gifted program. Michael's academic achievements seem to be a significant aspect of his identity, as he speaks with pride about his school performance. When asked about whether he knows someone named Jamie Goff, his demeanor begins to change. "Yes, I do." The J in Jamie here is pronounced with an H sound, as it would be in Spanish. However, both Michael and the detective pronounce Jamie with the J sound. At the mention of the victim's name, Michael's composed demeanor subtly falters for the first time. He hesitates before responding to the question, and his hands make a slight movement, as if he's grappling with how to express himself. The detective proceeds to ask more specific questions, departing from open-ended queries commonly used in such interviews. Michael's young age might explain this approach. When asked about the time he arrived at school and where he went, Michael mentions that he and his friends typically gathered near a fence north of the parking lot before classes. He mentions hanging out with Jamie Goff and Andre Martin, with occasional other individuals present. The detective asks Michael about their plans that morning and whether he suggested going inside the school early, to which Michael responds affirmatively. They reached an agreement, but only after Michael assured Jamie that they wouldn't get in trouble, as they had in the past for attempting to enter the school before the designated time. When asked about the reason behind his suggestion to go inside the school that day, Michael reveals his intentions matter-of-factly. His responses remain void of empathy or remorse, and he displays an apparent lack of awareness regarding the severity of his admission. It's essential to note that under Florida state law, 14 and 15-year-olds can be tried as adults for certain felonies and may face the same penalties as adults for their actions. With the exception of the death penalty, given Michael's prior confession to the first-degree murder of his friend, the remaining question is whether the court might show leniency. The detective proceeds to inquire about Michael's motivations and how he planned to execute his intended actions. Michael openly discusses his intentions, illustrating a disconcerting level of enthusiasm as he describes his plan. He clarifies that he had intended to get Jamie into a restroom stall, choosing the last one because it was the most spacious. He specifies that this particular restroom is located on the school's center floor and is the male restroom. When asked about its proximity, Michael mentions that it's near the media center and the gifted U.S. history class. The detective continues to delve into the details of how Michael planned to lure Jamie into the restroom. Michael explains that they usually visited the restroom after reaching the upstairs area to avoid being caught by security. He describes his method of getting Jamie into the stall, mentioning that he lured him there by saying he had something to show him. Michael's excitement and willingness to provide full cooperation during the questioning are notable. He comes across as someone eager to discuss the crime, perhaps seeking validation for his meticulous planning. It's striking that he displays no fear or discomfort, despite being in a situation where he has been apprehended for the murder of his friend. The conversation takes a more unsettling turn when the detective questions him about the gloves he used. Michael states that they were latex gloves and reveals that his mother had purchased them at Walgreens. He requested these gloves, falsely claiming that they were needed for extra credit in his science class. At this point, it becomes undeniably clear that Jamie's murder was premeditated. Even more disturbing is the level of detail and calculated preparation that Michael put into his plan. It's evident that he had considered nearly every factor before carrying out his intentions. Yielded a secret compartment that he made by cutting a slit in the inner lining and attaching Velcro along the edges of it so that it could be secured shut. He'd used this compartment to store the murder weapon, meaning Michael had even planned for the possibility of his backpack being searched. Now you and him are already in the stalk. Yes, did he go into the stall first? Yes. Did you follow him? Yes, I did. Did you close the stall door? Yes, I did. Now what transpired next? Okay, I was talking to him and I told him, all right, now I have to put my hand over your mouth. Okay, and so I did, and I lifted his neck up. Now, was he facing you or was he away from? He was away from me. Did you put your hand over his? Yes, I did. And which hand did you use to put over his mouth? Once you did that, what happened next? I had already got before I did the before. I put my hand over his mouth. I put my knife out, so the blade was already out. Now where had you kept this blade? I kept it in my jacket pocket. And what color jacket did you have on today? I had a red jacket. Now is this the same clothing that you're wearing? Yes. The detective is asking Michael a lot of control questions, meaning questions he already knows the answer to, in order to see if Michael is being truthful with him. He's also asking him questions to see if they corroborate with the evidence they have already ascertained. And what did you do? Next, I took the knife out and I proceeded to slit his throat. Now if you remember in which direction you slit his throat, left to right, Michael is able to recall the details of the murder extremely well, even noting the direction in which he slit his friend's throat. This is significant because it indicates that Michael didn't dissociate at all during the ACT some offenders blackout while committing a particularly heinous crime. Due to the extreme stress of the situation, Michael, however, was keenly aware of exactly what he was doing from beginning to end. This idea is especially haunting when you learn exactly what Michael did to his young schoolmate. An autopsy of the victim's body concluded that in addition to his throat being slit, Jamie had been stabbed in the neck over 40 times. It's gut-wrenching to think that Michael, a 14-year-old child, was in complete control the entire time, savoring every single jab, slice, and cut. Did Jamie say or do anything that he put up a struggle? Yes, he did. He turned. After I did that, he implored me not to kill him, so I reassured him, okay, I'm not going to if you cooperate, although it was a faucet. Realizing that the stall door was open, I secured it with a lock. I turned him around again and proceeded with my actions. The detective then inquired about my positioning, and I responded, I'm not entirely sure, but I'm guessing it was around the jugular vein, right around here. When asked if I stabbed him elsewhere on his body, I explained that I primarily targeted the back of his neck, including the temple. Additionally, I mentioned a possible slice on the left side of his face. During this narration, I appeared to be speaking in a very matter-of-fact and open manner, likely fueled by excitement to showcase my perceived cleverness to the detective. This could have overshadowed considerations of self-preservation, leading me to readily admit to killing Jamie. It's possible that I was either unaware of or unconcerned about the legal consequences of my actions. My young age may have also played a role in my readiness to confess. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making and impulse control, does not fully develop until around the age of 25. This might have made me more impulsive and less considerate of the potential consequences of my confession. The conversation then continued, with me describing my actions after the stabbing, including disposing of the gloves by flushing them down the toilet and cleaning myself off in another bathroom. The detective further questioned the details of the murder, such as whether Jamie fell to the commode or toilet after being stabbed. I clarified that he was already positioned in the same way he was found, and I had placed his head in that position to prevent him from gasping for air and making noise. I explained how I confirmed his death by poking him in the face with the point of my knife and checking his motionless eyes. When asked about Jamie's positioning, I noted that he was on his front in a kind of diagonal manner, with blood coming from his mouth to the right of the toilet. Regarding the knife and jacket, I mentioned that the knife had broken due to the stabbings, so I closed it as much as possible and put it in my jacket pocket. I wiped some of the blood off the jacket at the sink, removed the jacket, and proceeded with my actions. At this point, the detective advised me to slow down, as it seemed I was getting carried away while recounting the events. His effect and tone appear notably blunted throughout, while his speech speeds up, possibly due to anxiety or excitement. There's no major change in his demeanor as he discusses going to get the gloves, viciously stabbing his friend, or even realizing his friend's death. I needed extra credit for my science class, I explained. I took the knife out and proceeded to slit his throat. I didn't take the jacket off at that point, I just waited to get the blood off. Then I proceeded to go downstairs to the other bathroom on the first floor and wiped myself off, including my face and the jacket. Afterward, I took the jacket off and put it in my book bag. The detective asked about the gloves, and I revealed that I had 2 pairs. I kept the other pair in the jacket pocket where I also kept the knife. When questioned about removing my jewelry before gloving up in the bathroom, I mentioned taking off my rings, as they could have torn through the latex gloves. The detective inquired about anything unusual, and I admitted that one of my rings had gone missing. I returned upstairs to retrieve it when I noticed it was missing. A witness told me that someone had been in that stall, implying that the presence of a witness was part of my calculated plan. I clarified that I went upstairs to check on my ring, not to ensure Jamie's well-being. The detective questioned my motivation for recovering the ring, to which I replied, I value my jewelry. It's worth noting how much more importance I placed on my ring than the life of my dying friend. This detail sheds light on my disturbing disregard for others' lives. When asked whether people knew I wore such a ring, I acknowledged that many were aware. The detective then pointed out that the lost ring could potentially identify me to others. In response to the question of whether I had planned to do this to Jamie, I admitted that I had planned it for a little under a week. When asked about the specific reason for my plan, the response is cut off. This chilling detail points to Michael likely killing his friend for personal satisfaction. The motiveless nature of this crime is particularly disturbing. Michael, who had just turned 14 the day before, seemingly had no reason to commit murder that morning. It appears that he made a decision to do so on a whim. In situations like this, one might think of severe psychosis as a possible explanation. However, Michael's behavior during the interrogation does not align with the characteristics of someone experiencing psychosis. He appears to be thinking clearly and logically, showing no signs of responding to internal stimuli like auditory hallucinations or delusions. There's no evidence of paranoia or thought disorder. Instead, his heightened intelligence, composure, and the stark absence of remorse hint at a personality disorder, possibly antisocial personality disorder, ASPD. However, it's essential to note that ASPD cannot be diagnosed in individuals under 18. It's also challenging to provide a conclusive diagnosis because we lack comprehensive information about Michael's symptoms and history. Considering his age and behaviors, Michael may better fit a diagnosis of conduct disorder, especially given his history of taunting and physically assaulting peers. However, it's important to remember that he's too young for an official diagnosis. Furthermore, Michael's matter-of-fact demeanor could suggest psychopathy, characterized by a lack of reciprocal emotion. Psychopaths can discuss a murder they've committed without displaying any emotional response or showing empathy. Their emotions don't align with the circumstances. When asked about why he chose his friend Jamie for this act, Michael casually states that Jamie was the easiest target because they were close friends, and he knew Jamie would follow his lead. He offers some information about another individual named Andre Martin, revealing Andre's age and grade, but clarifies that Andre is not in any of his classes. Michael confirms that Andre is a friend they used to hang out with at the fence, referring to his birthday on the previous day. Did you approach Andre with a similar ruse at some point? Yes, there was a time when I, Andre, Jamie, and myself were in the bathroom. We were in the other bathroom, the same one where the victim was found today. Referring to Jamie as the victim may underscore Michael's emotional detachment from someone who was supposed to be his friend. It's possible that he struggles with forming genuine emotional connections with others, which could be another indicator of psychopathy. Psychopaths often exhibit emotional detachment, appearing apathetic, distant, and indifferent to people and situations. Their lack of prosocial emotions, like empathy and emotional attachment, allows them to remain calm in situations that would typically evoke fear or anxiety in others, such as during an interrogation or the act of committing murder. Can you tell me what your intentions were yesterday? My intentions yesterday were to kill Andre in the same manner I planned to kill Jamie. Except, in Andre's case, I was going to strangle him from behind and then ensure he was dead by stabbing him. So, you had the intention to do this to Andre as well? Yes, I was going to do this to Andre. Michael's animated and enthusiastic manner of describing his meticulously planned murder plot suggests a disturbing level of investment in sharing the details of his wicked scheme. He appears to enjoy the attention he receives during this real criminal proceeding. These behaviors could further suggest signs of antisocial personality disorder, ASPD. Legally, his intention to cruelly execute multiple individuals might be considered evidence that Michael poses a threat akin to a potential serial killer. Prosecutors could argue for a life sentence to protect potential future victims. You mentioned earlier that you had a belt and planned to strangle someone. Is that correct? Yes, I planned to strangle Andre first, and once he was dead, I intended to ensure his death by stabbing him. In class, I informed both of them that we would be late for class. So, we sneaked upstairs after the bell rang, and when we reached the bathroom, I attempted to convince Andre to enter the stall. The detective inquired, "How were you planning to do that?" I explained that I told Andre I had something to show him. He didn't want to go in, so he declined and suggested that Jamie should go first. My response was, "No, he's going to go next." The detective continued, "Was there a particular reason why you wanted Andre to be killed first?" When that didn't happen yesterday, I asked both Andre and Jamie if they would cooperate tomorrow. They agreed to cooperate the next day. Today, before this incident with Jamie, what were your intentions if Andre had shown up? I would have talked him into coming to the bathroom with me into the stall. Then, I would have proceeded to slit his throat and repeatedly stab him until he died in the back area. Afterward, I would have left him there and gone back downstairs to persuade Jamie to come upstairs to the other bathroom and into the stall. The detective asked, "Where did you obtain this knife?" I mentioned that I have a collection of knives that I've been collecting. I got some from my dad, who has a store. I had asked for these knives before I decided to do this. The person who knows knives gave me permission to take them because I wanted a knife that could be opened quickly, like the ones they call gravity knives. Michael exhibited several concerning behaviors leading up to the murder, most of which detectives had observed. It wasn't until they spoke with more of Michael's schoolmates over the next few days that they discovered that students reported his intense interest in all things gory and death. Even the screensaver on his school computer featured a scary creature covered in blood, drawing the attention of his classmates. Michael had a history of teasing and physically assaulting his peers. He had been reprimanded in the past for mocking and hitting a couple of female classmates. He was also known to poke and chase other kids with a screwdriver he kept in his backpack. Is there any particular reason why you did this to Jamie? No, there is not. Did he offend you in any way? No. Did he harm you in any way? No. The detective then questioned Michael about his understanding of right and wrong. You know the difference between right and wrong, correct? Yes, I do. Do you think what you did is right or wrong? No, I don't. Well, what don't you think? I think it is neither right, but I don't think it was wrong. Do you know what you did is wrong? Yes, I do. Michael's statement that he doesn't think what he did was right or wrong suggests that he has his own explanation or justification for his actions. This could indicate some unconventional belief or delusional thinking. Since Michael claimed Jamie didn't do anything to him, his belief that the murder wasn't necessarily wrong might reveal some of his distorted thinking. Following his interrogation, Michael was transported to the Juvenile Assessment Center. He eventually stood trial, pleading not guilty by reason of insanity. During the trial, evidence was presented, including a notebook with information about famous serial killers, a list of people he planned to kill, including his older sister, and a mission statement expressing his need to cleanse the planet by murdering people. Michael was found guilty of the first-degree murder of Jamie Goff and the attempted first-degree murder of Andre Martin. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus 30 years for the attempted murder charge. However, in 2016, after a Supreme Court ruling, he was retried and again sentenced to life in prison. But in an unexpected turn of events, Michael collapsed and was pronounced dead on April 29, 2021, with the cause of death noted as cardiac dysrhythmia, possibly linked to his morbid obesity. He died at the age of 31 after spending a total of 13 years in prison.